Assalamu alaikum everybody. Today we are going to learn about the new topic, and that is about the welding and joining processes. In that one, what we are going to learn is, first of all, we will learn about what is the welding terminology, and then we will study about the welding joints and types of weld, and some about the physics of welding, then types of welding, or maybe you can call it as the welding categories, and then we will study about the weld quality. So in the later part we will study about what is the difference between soldering and brazing, and we will study about some type of the mechanical assembly types. So coming to what is difference between joining and assembly distinguish. In this one, the joining process generally refer to the welding or brazing, soldering or other adhesive bonding process, but normally it is on the permanent basis. These processes form a permanent joint between the parts, while the assembly is a joining of the part on temporary basis. So some of these methods you must have already done in practical life, and those are like the joining the parts with the nut and bolt, maybe with the help of screw and with the help of some rivets. Okay. Coming to the welding process, what is the welding? This is a joining process in which two or more parts are coalesced at their contacting surfaces by application of heat and pressure, and sometimes both are applied, but many welding processes are accomplished by only heat with no pressure applied. We will study later on in the later part of this lecture. Okay. The welding process, they use the heat and pressure both, and still there are some processes which use only pressure with no external heat applied. Okay. In some welding processes, a filler material is also added to facilitate the coalescence process. So why welding is important? This question is very important. The welding is important because it provides a permanent joint, and after the welding the parts become a single entity. Usually it is very economical, and as compared with the other mechanical method. Mechanical fastening usually requires additional hardware like screw and nut, and maybe you need some geometric alteration with the help of some making holes using some drill machine. So this is more important because it gives you a more economical way of joining the parts. Okay, it is not restricted to a factory environment. It can be done in any shed, or maybe you can do it in the field as well. So what is the fusion welding? Fusion welding means that you are in fact joining by welding, in which the base metal they in fact melt together. So in this one, a filler metal is added to the molten pool to facilitate the process and provide a bulk and added a strength to the welding joint. A fusion welding operation in which no filler metal is added, generally we call it as an autogeneous process, but normally we use a filler metal. Sometimes we do not use a filler, and we call it as a autogeneous weld process. Okay, coming to some fusion welding processes, the first one which we call it as electric arc welding processes. So this is the melting of material accomplished by electric arc. So, and there is one more fusion process that we call it a resistance welding process. This is accomplished by heat from the resistance to an electrical current between the two faying surfaces held together under the pressure. And one of the type which come under the resistance welding, the most common one is the spot welding process. So the third one is the oxy-gas fielding welding process of the fusion welding. In that one we use the oxy-gas as a fuel, and we normally call it as a oxyacetylene gas. Okay, what is in the electric arc welding process? If you see, the two surfaces are generally, they can be seen here in the end view, and then they can be seen after the weld process. What we are doing is we are using an electric electrode, and we normally call it a stick welding also. Electric arc welding is also called a stick welding, and this kind of process in which the electrode is used and a filler metal is being used, and you are using a separate shielding gas to in fact avoid the contact of the the atmospheric gases like nitrogen and oxygen and other gases to avoid the contact between the pool of the weld, so that nitride and the oxide they are not formed to in fact to damage the weld process. So in that one, so what is the first of all weld joint? Weld joint is basically junction of the edges or the surfaces of the parts that have been joined by the welding. Two issues normally come under the discussion on the weld joint. What is the type of the joint and what is the type of the weld used to join the pieces. So we will study first of all type of the joints. We have normally 5 types of the joints: butt joint, corner joint, lap joint, T-joint and edge joint. First of all, we study about the butt joint. In the butt joint, what we do is, normally the parts they lie in the same plane like this way, and they are joined at their edges now. So we call it as a butt joint now. In the corner joint, the parts come in the category, we call it as a corner form, at right angle normally to each other, and they are joined at the corner from of the angle now. So they are joined here from the outer side, maybe from the inner side now. Okay, the lap joint is one in which the two overlapping parts, the parts are overlapping on each other, and in the T joint, the one part is just exactly lying at 90 degree, forming a letter like a T shape, and in the edge joint, the parts in edge joints are parallel with the at least one of their edges, so they are parallel to one of the edges. Okay, so you just join them by the welding now. Okay, now coming to the types of the weld. Each of the preceding joints which we discussed in the 5 types of the joints, they can be welded by different types of the welds. So we will study one by one. Other joining processes that can be used for some of the joint types. So we will discuss these weld types. First one is a fillet weld. Now, the fillet weld is generally used to fill the edges of the plates created by corner, lap or the T joints, and in this one the filler material used to provide cross section in an approximate shape of the right triangle now. Like for example, here you can see a fillet joints. Okay, so in this one there is a single fillet joint, and there is a outside single fillet joint. This is the inner side, and there is a double you can say fillet lap joint, because surfaces are having a lap contact, and here is a T joint, but you are having a double fillet T joints because you are joining from the both sides now. So these are the types of the fillet welds. Okay, now coming to the groove welds. Groove welds are generally require the parts edges to be shaped into a groove shape, and edges preparation increases cost of the parts because you have to prepare the edges first of all to make the groove weld. So the shape which normally come in the groove weld, they are square, bevel shape, V shape, U shape, J shape, single and double side, but even there are many more. In fact, we will discuss later on. Most closely associated with the butt joint now. But if you see what are the groove weld types, so we have discussed normally in your book these 6 types have been discussed. First one is we call it a square groove weld. Square groove weld. Here you can see here a square shape. Okay, and you can see here also the dotted line over here which are showing the actual part surfaces. Okay, and in the other one which the single bevel groove, this is one the bevel shape, single bevel shape, and the third one is a single V groove. This a V type of groove is made, and the fourth one is a U groove weld, and there is another one we call it as a J type, J groove, and sometimes the double V also is used from both sides, this side and on the bottom side. But there are some more further types which are also can be formed, which are not in your books, but you can consider them like a J groove, W type, and flare bevel like this one, and there can be a flare V type, and double bevel like here you can see double bevel. So these are the symbol as well shown with all the different types of the weld. On the drawing you can see these drawing are showing basically the showing you indication that what is the the type of the weld. So if you see this one, this shows the weld joint, square joint. Okay, this one is called the bevel shape. This is called the V. So these the drawing shape are giving you clear indication of the type of the weld. Okay, coming to the spot weld. This is the most important weld process which is used in the mostly in the automobile industry, and normally you can see approximately there are 10,000 spots on average on any automotive vehicle. 10,000 spots are used on any type of the vehicle, but this is the most commonly used on the automotive industry and in the other sheet metal works. This is shown in the, for example, the two sheets are shown in the lap form, and here you can see a nugget is formed where the contact between the two electrodes is formed, and the spot between the two electrodes makes the joints depending upon the type of the thickness of the sheets. Okay, this is the cut view basically is shown of the spot welding. Coming to the physics of the welding. So in the physics, what we will discuss is the fusion, because we taking place by means of achieving coalescence in the welding. To accomplish the fusion, the source of high density heat energy must be supplied to the frame surfaces. So you need a lot of heats resulting in a temperature causes localized melting of the base metal. So filler metal if used, you can also maybe increase the welding process. For the metallurgical reason, it is desirable to melt the metal with the minimum energy but high heat densities. Of course you have to take care of the heat affected zone over here in this one. Power density. Power density is the one which we normally call it how much power is transferred to the work per unit surface area, and the unit is watt per millimeter square or maybe BTU per second inch square. And if the power density is too low, the heat is conducted into the work, and so melting never occurs. So this is a very important thing now. The heat should not be conducted into the workpiece. If the power density is too high, the localized temperature vaporizes the metal in the heat affected zone. So there is a practical range of values for heat densities within the which welding can be performed. So this is very important, the power density. The power density comparison among the welding process, if you want to see what are the different power density. Oxy-gas fueling well generally develops a large amount of heat, but heat density is relatively low because heat is spread over a large area as compared with the in fact electric arc welding. Oxy-gas welding, the hottest of the generally oxy-fuel welding, this burns at temperature around 3500 degrees centigrade, and in the electric arc welding, which produce high energy over a smaller area, resulting in a localized temperature and then higher temperature than this one, that is 5500 degrees centigrade. And if you want to see the comparison of the power density of the welding processes, you can see the oxy fuel gas has the lesser power density as compared with the electric, but the resistance welding has got even more, 10,000 watt per millimeter square, and in the laser beam welding, the 9,000, and electron beam welding it has got 10,000. Okay, power density as we discussed, that is the basically it is the power per unit area. So power density as we discussed, it has been shown in the previous chart, various type of the welding processes. Here show the welding power density in fact. Okay, coming to the unit energy for melting, unit energy UM. How much amount of energy required to melt a unit volume of the metal starting from the room temperature. In that case, we can use heat to raise the temperature, first of all solid metal to the melting point, and then we can use the higher melting point to in fact melt the metal, but it depends upon the volumetric specific heat of the metal. Okay, heat to and it also depends upon the heat to transform the metal from solid to liquid phase, as we call it the heat of fusion at melting point. Okay, coming to the unit energy for melting, it's a very important formula used, that is UM is K into Tm square. This K is a constant and its units are in the Kelvin are 3.3 into 10 to the minus 6, but if you are using the Rankine scale, then it is the value 1.467 into 10 to the minus 6, and Tm is the melting temperature or on the absolute scale. Okay, heat transfer mechanism in the welding. So in this one, normally two transfer efficiencies are very important. First one is the transfer efficiency F1, and that is we call actual heat received by the workpiece divided by the total heat generated at the workpiece. How much heat actually is received by the workpiece divided by the total heat generated. Okay. Second one is the melting efficiency F2. This is basically proportion of heat required received at the work surface used for melting. Okay, this was received for workpiece, heat received, and this is for melting, and divided by the total heat. So this is F2, a relative portion of the heat received at the work surface for the melting. Okay, so if we come to the total net heat available for welding, this can be calculated by F1 into F2 multiplied by total heat which has been generated at the source, and this heat of welding which is available for the welding. So you multiply all the heat which has been generated, multiply by F1 and F2. Okay, these two transfer efficiencies F1 and F2, if they are available to you, you can use them. Okay, so generally heat transfer efficiency F1 is proportion of heat received at the work surface relative to the total heat generated, as we discussed earlier, but depends upon the welding process and capacity to convert power source into the usable heat at work surface. Oxy-gas welding processes are relatively inefficient, and arc welding processes are relatively efficient. So F1 for oxy-gas welding is less. And coming to the melting efficiency F2, this is the proportion as we discussed proportion of heat received at the work surface used for melting. The rest is conducted into the workpiece. So it depends upon the welding process, but also influenced by the thermal properties of the metal and joint configuration and the work thickness. Metal with high thermal conductivity, if the metal has somewhat high thermal conductivity, like for example copper, such as aluminium, copper, they present a problem in welding. Why? Because the melting, this process, there will be rapid dissipation of the heat away from the heat contact area, and they will totally in fact vaporize the metal. So this is a very important in the especially welding of the copper and aluminium, this factor F2. Okay, coming to the energy balance equation. So as we discussed, the total heat available for welding, if you know the unit energy, you can multiply the volume of the metal welded in fact. Okay, similarly you can also calculate the rate of the heat balance, rate of the heat energy. You can multiply it by into volume rate of metal which is being welded in fact. So if you multiply by into rate of the volume rate of the metal, you get the rate of heat energy delivered to the operation for welding. So we will see how to calculate the rate. Once you know the unit energy for melting, you can multiply it with the volume, and you can get the rate of the heat energy. Okay. So there is the one single problem you can see here, in which the fillets weld has been cross-section area of 20 millimeter square, and the length has been also given to you. What quantity of heat is required to accomplish the weld? If the metal is welded in a stainless steel, and how much heat must be generated at the welding process? This is the second question asked, how much heat must be generated at the welding process? First of all, the unit energy, if you want to calculate, that is already a simple formula. So you can calculate the multiplying K value with the help of Tm. Now Tm is given to you, Tm is 1670, so you can calculate the unit energy for melting. So volumetric of the metal, you can calculate volume by area multiplied with the length, and in this way total heat available for welding, which has been asked to you in the part A, you can calculate it with the help of by multiplying with the volume. Okay, so this is the first part. Coming to the second part, that is the B part, how much heat must be generated. That is, you want to, it has been asked to how much heat has been in fact generated, H. So this HW is already calculated. F1 and F2 are given to you. So F1 is 0.8 and F2 is 0.6. You can calculate the total heat available because HW has already been calculated now. This is very simple now. Okay, coming to the another problem, you can use a similar type of the problem. I think you can solve this problem using the same heat balance equation, and it's not a difficult, not a big deal now. In this way, the specific heat has been given to you to calculate unit energy, and melting temperature is also being used because the room temperature is 20 degrees centigrade. You can calculate the UM, and later on this UM can be used to calculate, once you know the melting temperature, you can multiply it with the K, and you can find out the unit energy of melting up. So there is there is about 10% difference. The values for the aluminium show a good agreement. So there is another problem 3. In certain welding operation, you want to make a groove. So in this case, the groove weld, if you have the area of the welding and the volume is velocity is given to you, and F1, F2 are given to you, you can solve this problem using the, again, very simple. I hope these problems are very simple. You can use basic formulas. And coming to the typical fusion welding joints. In the fusion welding joints, you can see here the fusion zone has been shown here, and some heat affected zone is also generated over here. This heat affected zone in fact create the metallurgical problem for the base metal, and this heat affected zone is also called HAZ. These are the base metal, and this is the fusion zone where the molten pool has been added to the, and this is the metallurgical shape of the process has been shown over here. What are the over here you can see columnar grain structure over shown over here, but in the heat affected zone you can see a coarse grain structure, okay, and here you can see a fine grain structure where the heat affected zone is not there. So you can see the metallurgical shape of the welding process. Okay, coming to the feature of the fusion welding joints. So generally this fusion zone, welding, weld interference, heat affected zone, unaffected base metal zone, as we discussed in the previous example. This is unaffected zone now. Okay, heat affected zone is the one which has experienced temperature below the melting point, but high enough to cause microstructural changes in the solid melt now. So chemical composition same as the base metal, but this region has been heat treated. So the due to the heat treatment, the properties of the structure have been altered in the heat affected zone. Generally this effect is very negative, and it is has got some problem if the weld joint generally has a failure tendency due to this heat affected zone. So heat affected zone has a negative effect on the weld quality. Okay, coming to the welding processes, there are many welding processes. As per the American Welding Institute, there are about 50 welding processes, but we are not going to discuss all these welding processes. Some of the welding processes we are going to discuss, which are discussed in your chapter 30 and 31, and we are discussing about the arc welding. So arc welding process is the most important process, and in this one we also call as the we use the DC voltage, and sometimes we use the AC voltage as well. Now, in the main categories of the welding, if you look at the main categories, first one is the solid state welding. In the solid state welding, there is a friction welding, ultrasonic welding, diffusion welding, explosive welding. And in the fusion welding, what we have studied in the previous topics, gas welding, resistance welding, and electric arc welding. So we are going to discuss most of the part in the arc welding and some resistance welding and gas welding processes, but we are not going to discuss the electron beam and laser beam welding. These are the new processes, and they can be also used for the welding processes. Coming to the solid state welding, in the heat and pressure are used to achieve the coalescence, but no melting of the base metal take place, and no filler metal is added. Example of the solid state welding are forge welding and diffusion welding and friction welding. These are welding are the processes. Okay, but in the friction welding, as we discussed, the coalescence is accomplished by melting the two parts by joining. In some cases, you add the filler metal, sometimes you do not add the filler metal. Example are arc welding, resistance welding, spot welding, oxy gas welding. Okay, coming to the first of all the arc welding processes, which we discussed. Sometimes the AC voltage can be used and sometimes DC volt can also be used. But AC voltage is more efficient than with the DC volt. Okay, but AC is in fact less consumes less power and the DC consumes more power. The fusion welding process in which coalescence of the metal is achieved by heat from the electric arc between the electrode and the workpiece. So electric energy from the arc produces a temperature generally 10,000 degree Fahrenheit or maybe 55 degree centigrade, which is hot enough to melt any metal. So most arc welding processes add filler metal to increase the volume and strength of the welded joint. Here you can see electric arc welding processes have been you see AC or DC power source can be used over here, and here you can see electric holder, and this is electrode being used, and you are adding over here filler metal over here. Okay, so but sometimes the filler metal is here as a used as a outside surface. Okay, and sometimes separately we can use the filler metal. Okay, so this direction of the travel is being, you can see over the electric arc and the pool of metal is being shown over here, and you can melt, you can in fact clamp the workpiece with the sometime with the positive. In some cases you use a positive and sometimes we use a negative. In fact, we will discuss later on, because every process is not the using the same polarity. The polarity changes from one process to another. Okay. Coming to the two basic types of electric arc welding, the first one is the consumable electrode, in which the electrode is consumed, and the second one is a non-consumable electrode, and the filler metal must be added separately over here, but the electrode generally does not get consumed now. Okay, coming to the arc shielding. Why we use the shielding process? Because at high temperature in the arc welding, the metal are chemically very reactive to the oxygen, nitrogen and hydrogen. So you have to use some shielding gas in the electric arc welding now. The mechanical properties of the joint can be seriously degraded by this reaction. So you have to protect the operation by using some shielding gases, and shielding gases, there are many types of shielding gases. We can use the shielding gases like argon, helium, carbon dioxide, and sometimes even flux is being used. Flux is generally added to the electric arc welding. This is generally outside the electric electrode, and when the process is carried out, this flux basically saves the welding process from the outer gases, from the outer atmospheric gases, to avoid the formation of nitride and other damaging type of the compound. Okay, coming to the flux. Flux is substance of the carbonate and silicate, and that prevents the formation of oxide and other contaminants in the welding process, and that dissolve and facilitate the removal. Later on, you can remove the flux over the surface. It is provide the protective atmosphere for the welding, and it stabilizes the arc, and this reduces the spattering. Spattering means the droplets of molten metal and non-metallic material. So you can later on remove the outer shape of the outer surface of the protective layer just by striking with some hammer, and you can remove that flux part from the welded joint. Okay, coming to the consumable electrode welding processes. So this chart can give you a good overview of the different welding processes. Shielded metal arc welding, which we call as SAMA, and gas metal arc welding we call as JAMA, and flux core metal arc welding we call as FCA, and submerged arc welding. So these welding processes, if you see what type of the electrode you are using, what type of the electric electrode coating, what are the filler rod and shielding gas, flux and remarks. This is a very important chart you can see over here. And like for example, shielded metal arc welding is we call SMA, we consumable electrode is used. But electric electrode coating is yes, because you are using an electrode, so the coating of the electrode is there, so you do not use the shielding gas. Okay, because shielding is being provided by this coating in fact. Okay. Similarly, you can see over here in some cases you use the consumable wire, in some cases we use the consumable wire electrode, and sometimes we use the consumable wire electrode now. So we will study one by one. Okay. In case of the shielded metal arc welding, this is uses the consumable electrode. The electrode is being consumed over. You can see the electrode is being consumed, and from the outer side you can see here the electrode coating is there now. That means the protective gas is being formed from the electrode coating. This coating, when it burns, this makes the protective, and this slag later on can be removed because this welded joint is being made, but this can be removed by the hammer or some striking by striking with the some maybe using some any type of the hammer. You can remove this one now, but this is very important in the shielding of the welded joint now in the shield metal arc welding. Sometimes we call stick welding. This very normal term used, stick welding, because this stick type of thing is being used now. The power supply is connecting cable and electrode holder available for the in case of the shield metal arc welding, and in case of the gas metal arc welding, which is JAMA, and this uses the consumable bare metal. This uses the consumable bare metal electrode and shielding accomplished by the flooding arc with the shielding gas. So that means the shielding is being used separately. So this electrode is being fed, but the shielding is also taking place from the outer side. Okay, because you want to protect the welded area. Okay, so this is the base metal, this is a Melton pool, and this one is basically a shielding gas being provided from separately from these nozzles. Okay, coming to the wire is continuously fed and automatically from the spool through the welding gun, because this process is very economical. So we can use a wire spool, and that is giving you efficiency now. Shielding gases include inert gases, we discussed argon, helium, carbon dioxide, and so on. So bare electrode wire plus shielding gas eliminate the slag and welding head. No need for manual grinding and cleaning of the slag. This is very good process, and because the shielding gas is already avoiding the formation of any slag. Okay, coming to the flux core arc welding. Over here, the adaptation of basically we are using the shield metal arc welding, but we are adapting it to overcome the limitation of stick electrode. So you do not need to hold a separate stick. Okay, in this one, flux core arc welding, presence of absence of externally supplied shielding gas. You can use external shielding welding gas, or maybe you can without you can use that. So the self-shielded in two types: self-shielded, in which core provide ingredient for the shielding, and the second one, the gas shielded, which uses the external shield gassing force. So it depends, but the shielding is here. You can see a shielding gas is being used from the nozzle, and here the guide tube is being used to feed the wire from the pool, and you can see here the slag is being formed over here in this one. Electrode is continuous consumable tubing in the form of coil and containing flux and other ingredient, in fact, in its core, because in its core in fact already contains the type of the flux in that one now. Okay, in the submerged arc welding, that uses the continuous consumable bare electrode with the arc shielding provided through a hopper. This hopper is being basically continuously feeding the granular type flux, and this can be removed also some with the vacuum system. This flux is basically giving a submerged type of the welding process, because the welding is totally submerged in this one, and you can also remove this granular flux which is being used for the submerging the welding, and it can be also removed, and this makes a slag as well. Okay, This electrode wire is fed automatically from the coil, and this completely submerged the operation, preventing the sparks. There is no spark or spatter or radiation coming out of this one, because everything is submerged inside the this granular. This flux is basically submerging the whole part. Okay, coming to the non-consumable electrode process. This is the process in which you use the non-consumable electrode, and the main you can see we call it the TIG welding, gas tungsten arc welding, or sometimes we call it the TIG welding, the plasma arc welding, and carbon arc welding, and atomic hydrogen welding. These are all the 4 processes. They do not use any they can use a non-consuming type of electrode that in fact create an arc between the base metal and a non-consumable electrode, and non-consumable electrode does not melt in the arc, and filler metal is generally we use a tungsten type of electrode over here in this one. Okay, coming to the, for example, first one, the gas tungsten arc welding, as we discussed, this is also called TIG welding. This is using a non-consumable electrode and inert gas for the welding. So you're using the inert gas as well, but this is very clean process, and very important for the steel and the aluminium and the aircraft welding processes, and this is the widely used in the aircraft industry, and maybe you can use in the some aluminium processes, magnesium processes. So you can see here in this one the shielding gas is being used, and the tungsten electrode being used, which is a non-consumable electrode. Okay, it's very clean, but it's not very economical. Process is very clean, but it cannot be used for the mass production. Okay, so coming to the melting point of this process, it is about 3400 degrees centigrade, and this is used for the without filler metal, with or without filler metal. Filler metal use, it is added to the weld pool from the separate rod. If you want to use a filler metal, you can also use, but normally this electrode which is generating an arc, this is the non-consumable. Okay, application was aluminium, magnesium, copper, stainless steel. The most of the processes in the aircraft industry, this process is being used. Okay, negative electrode of the DC power supply to electrode, and positive generally is clamped to the workpiece. In this one, workpiece is positive and electrode is a negative, connected to the negative supply. This is the polarity of the electrode, that is a negative one now, and the workpiece is connected to the positive electrode. Okay, coming to the plasma arc welding, this is a very important process, and this is a special form of TIG welding. In this process, we use the, in fact, tungsten electrode is contained in the nozzle that focuses a high velocity stream of the inert gas. This inert gas is in fact converted into the form of plasma. The high temperature that convert the inert gas into plasma form, and then that plasma, once having a temperature about 2800 degrees centigrade, it can be used in, through some jet, very small diameter, and that can be used to weld any metal due to very high temperature. So power density, high power density convert the single or 3 phases of the voltage into smooth constant DC voltage ranging from the 200 to 400 voltage DC, and the arc starting console, this uses an AC voltage approximately about 4000 volt AC and 2 megahertz frequency, which produces the spark inside the plasma charge to create the plasma. So here you can see a tungsten electrode basically making a high arc being generated, and this converts the plasma gas, which may be inert gas, in the form of plasma, and once this plasma strikes any surface, it in fact makes the welding process. So this shielding gas can also be used from the nozzle from the outer side, because the temperature is very high. You want to protect this weld process from the atmospheric gases. So this is a very important process for the melting of the different type of the processes, and very clean process because here the shielding gas is being used. Okay, coming to the resistance welding, which is very important used in the automotive industry. A group of fusion welding processes, that is combination of heat and pressure to accomplish the coalescence. If you want to see the physics of this process, the heat which is generally generated, this is equal to square of the electric current multiplied by the electrical resistance into the multiplied by the time. So this you can calculate the total heat generated in this one. So this heat generated by electrical resistance to current flow at the junction to be welded, because you are using generally the sheet welding processes. So this process we study, there are the three types of this welding process. First one is the resistance welding. So resistance welding we call it spot welding process. As you can see here, the two surfaces have been joined, two sheets are being joined with the help of two electrodes. One is a positive, the other is negative. You apply a force and pressure. But in this case, you can see here in the resistance spot welding process, here the two sheets are being shown in the first phase. In the second phase, you apply the force, and in the third phase, you apply the force and you give a current. And here you, in fact, remove the current, but you still apply the force, and then finally you remove the force and current both, and the negative form between the two, in fact, sheet being welded together. So this is kind of you can say lap joint. And here you can see a schematic diagram of the spot welding machine where two electrodes are being shown, and here is basically the process. You can use a foot pad in order to move this movable. The lower one is generally fixed and upper one is a movable one now. Okay. The another type of the resistance welding is the seam welding. This is again a type of the resistance welding, but here you can see you can make a seam of the process over whole. In the spot welding you only generate a spot, but over here you can make a complete seam of the process. Okay. So this especially you use the roller type of the electrode, where these rollers are in fact revolving now. So one is a positive, other is a negative one now. So you can generate fuel tanks and steel cans you can make, and these are certain advantages. Process can be automated, suitable for high production rate, and no filler metal or flux is required over here. The disadvantages are the high cost of the equipment, not suitable for a metal thickness more than 3 millimeters. Yeah, you are creating a seam of that. So another process is the resistance projection welding. This is another type of the resistance welding called projection welding, where some surfaces are having a projection, and these surfaces can be joined at different places where the projection is being shown over here, and these sheet can be joined with the help of resistance process, and this is called a projection welding process. Okay. Coming to the oxy-gas welding processes, oxy-fuel gas welding, which is we also use the call it oxy OFW process. This is the group of welding processes that uses the different type of the fuel gases, and it can be mixed with the oxygen. And normally we use the oxy gas fuel gas as oxyacetylene, but other hydrogen gas can also be used now. So coming to the most important oxy-fuel gas, as we discussed oxyacetylene, but other like for example hydrogen can also be used. So oxyacetylene gas welding with OAW, this is the fusion welding process by high temperature flame, and you combust this fuel gas with the oxygen, and you can see here a flame is being generated over here over the base metal, and here you can add the filler metal as well, and you can see mixture of oxyacetylene oxygen is coming from the two nozzle. They mix together. Here you can see here you can have some two valves. You can mix them together depending upon the type of the flame. There are three types of the flame you studied in the second term, and those flame can be used for the different welding processes. For example, sometimes we have the reducing, sometimes we have the carburizing, and so on now. Okay, flame is directed by the welding torch. Filler metal is sometimes added and sometimes not added. Composition by must be similar to the base metal. Filler rod often coated with the flux to clean the surfaces and prevent oxidation. Other fuel gases are butane, propane, and similarly you can use hydrogen gas as well for the welding process. And there are two more very clean processes. We call it electron beam welding processes. as we discussed, these welding processes called EBW. So this is fusion welding process in which the heat for welding is provided by the highly focused high intensity stream of the electrons striking from the work surface. These electrons generally are generated in the high electric current, and once the electron they fall over some surfaces in the vacuum chamber, the workpiece which is having the vacuum surfaces, when it strikes the surface, due to the kinetic energy of the electron, the surface of the workpiece is melted, and then due to the heat welding takes place. Okay, this electron beam weld gun generally operates at the high voltage 10 to 150 kilovolt to accelerate the electron, and beam current are generally low in milliampere. So there is another process called laser beam welding, the fusion welding process in which the coalescence is achieved by the energy of high concentrated coherent electron beam welding. So this process is using the lasers, light amplification by stimulated emission of the radiation. So we use the laser by concentrating the light energy. So and normally this is performed with the shielding gas to prevent the oxidation process, and filler metal not usually added in this one. High power density in a small area, so laser beam welding often used for the small parts. So comparison between laser beam welding and electron beam welding. So in the no vacuum chamber required for the laser beam welding, no vacuum is in fact required, but and no X-rays emitted in the laser beam welding. In case of the laser beam welding, they can be focused and directed by the optical lenses and mirror, because you have to focus those light energy. You can use some lenses as well, and these laser beam welding not capable of deep weld and high depth to weld ratios. So this is the, you can say, limitation. They are not capable of deep welding, and cannot be used for the high depth to weld ratio. The maximum laser beam welding depth is basically 90 millimeter, whereas the electron beam welding depth is more, that is 50 millimeter depth can be achieved now. Okay, we will solve this problem in the next lecture, and so far we have studied the different type of the welding processes, welding types and welding joints, and in the second part we will discuss about the various problems, and we will study about the weld quality as well. And this is the first part has been covered. Thank you very much, and Allah Hafiz.